So now we are going to stitch this area right here with the stem stitch and beads. So the thread that I like to use, this is Fruity, it's Fruitti by Wonderful Specialty Threads, and I'll link where you can find it below in the description. This is a 12 weight cotton thread. I really like this. It comes on a spool. If you're using it just for beading and embroidery, this will last you forever, one spool. And it comes in really pretty variegated colors, which I love with something like this where I'm using a variety of beads. So these are the beads I'm using. They're all size 12 seed beads. And again, I mentioned before, but beads are becoming easier and easier to find, like nice beads at craft stores. So these are check seed beads, a variety of colors, and you can use whatever you have on hand. Also, you don't have to use seed beads if you don't want to, but I am going to show you how I stitched this whole flower with just the stem stitch and beads. Okay, so I'm going to be stitching right in here with the stem stitch. You're just going to follow the darker lines around this flower. You're not going to see them once it's all stitched up because this whole area will be covered in beads, but they're a nice guide for you to follow. So just pick one section, completely up to you. I'm actually going to turn mine to the side because it's a little easier to stitch that way. So I'm bringing my needle and thread up right here. And with every stitch in this flower, I'm going to add a bead. So I just add the bead to my needle and then bring my thread and needle down. And then I'm going to bring my needle up right about here. I'm making these smaller stitches because I'm fine with the thread. You can see the thread on either side of this, but I don't want them to be a longer threaded stitch with a bead. I kind of want the thread to be a little bit more invisible. I mean, it's not completely invisible because you can see it, but I want you to notice the beads and not the thread. So I'm threading my needle again. And now, because this is a stem stitch, I'm bringing my needle down, and I'm going to shift this bead over a little bit so you can see it. So I'm coming back to the stitch that I had just stitched. I'm not going through it. I'm just coming halfway back and I'm putting my new stitch next to this stitch. Looks a little weird right here until I shuffle it. But you see that allows the beads to be nice and close together. I like the stem stitch a lot on curves. So here I'll add another one. So I'm bringing my needle up. I put the bead on. And now I'm taking my needle back down right about there. So yes, I like the stem stitch on curves, especially smaller curved areas. I just think it works really well, and it works great with beads. It's one of my favorite stitches to use with beads. And you can see how easy it is. Also, the beauty of adding beads, any little mistakes you might think you're making, the beads cover it up. So there's not a better stitch than that. One that can hide little mistakes. And so this is as simple as it is to stitch this flower. And you can just continue this same exact method to add all of the beads and work your way through each of the lines in the flower. And you can choose all one bead color. You can choose, you see I have a variety of beads here. They're all size 8 seed beads. And again, I'll link little details in the description for you. But that is the stem stitch with beads for this flower.